Have you ever wondered why some thought leaders seem to effortlessly inspire and influence while others struggle to get their message across? The answer often comes down to $1 million communication mistake. It's an error that's costing countless thought leaders the recognition and impact that they deserve. In this video, we'll uncover what that mistake is, the psychology behind why it's so hard to break out of, and some proven strategies for how you can avoid it. So, what exactly is this $1 million communication mistake? Put simply, it's the failure to communicate in a way that sparks genuine insight. Many experts fall into the trap of assuming that if they just share enough information, their audience will automatically get it. But as we'll see, there are three key psychological principles that make this a lot harder than it seems. The first one is something called the curse of knowledge. Imagine you're at a conference to see a talk by an expert you admire, and you're really excited about it, but as the expert takes the stage and they start talking, you feel yourself losing track of their train of thought. They're using technical terms you're not familiar with. They're referencing concepts that you don't fully understand. Maybe they seem to be jumping around from point to point without a clear through line. If you've ever found yourself in this situation, you know firsthand how frustrating it can be when an expert fails to translate their knowledge into accessible language. It's not that they're not brilliant or not insightful, it's that they've fallen into the trap of assuming that their audience is at the same level of understanding that they are. This is a common pitfall for experts in any field. The more immersed you become in the intricacies of your subject matter, the harder it can be to explain it to someone who doesn't share your depth of knowledge. As experts in anything, we have to learn how to translate our ideas into language that will resonate with the person we're talking to. So, this curse of knowledge, the difficulty that experts have remembering what it's like to be a novice in their field, is one of the key contributors to that $1 million communication mistake. But this is not the only psychological roadblock we have to watch out for. There's another principle at play. Imagine you're attending a lecture on a topic that you feel pretty knowledgeable about. As the speaker presents their ideas, you might find yourself mentally arguing with them, poking holes in their logic, coming up with counterexamples. The more they try to convince you, the more resistant you actually become. This is a common experience when we're faced with information that challenges our existing beliefs or worldview. Instead of considering a new perspective objectively, our knee-jerk reaction is often to double down on our current beliefs and to look for any reason we can to dismiss the new information. This is a phenomenon that psychologists call the backfire effect, and it can be very, very frustrating for experts trying to introduce a new way of looking at something. The very act of trying to persuade someone can actually make them less likely to be persuaded as they dig in their heels and double down on their existing beliefs. So, we've got the curse of knowledge obscuring our message and the backfire effect making people resistant to it. But there's one more piece to this psychological puzzle, and it has to do with how we express our passion for our topics. When passion crosses the line into zealotry, it can actually become a hindrance in communicating our message. Have you ever been cornered by someone who's obsessed with a niche topic and they won't stop talking about it no matter how many hints you drop that you're just not interested? If so, you know firsthand how off-putting over-the-top enthusiasm can be. It's not that passion itself is a bad thing. In fact, as an expert, your passion for your topic is probably one of the main drivers behind your success. It's what motivates you to keep learning, keep innovating, and keep sharing your knowledge with others. The problem is when that passion comes across in a way that feels overwhelming or coercive to your audience. When you come across as being more interested in preaching your gospel than in having a meaningful exchange of ideas, people are naturally going to tune out and get defensive. So it's a fine line to walk. You want to convey your passion and enthusiasm for the topic, but not in a way that makes your listeners feel steamrolled. The key is to let your passion shine through while also making space for questions, dialogue, and independent thought. Okay, so we've identified three key psychological factors that contribute to the $1 million communication mistake: the curse of knowledge, the backfire effect, and the dangers of over-the-top enthusiasm. What can we do about this? How can we convey our hard-won expertise in a way that really lands and inspires people? Let's go through a few strategies. One of the most powerful ways to make your ideas accessible is to become a master at expressing your concepts in terms that will make sense to your listener. Instead of focusing so much on your ideas and what you want them to know, try to spend some more time understanding what they know now and how they think right now. This way, you can start to explain your ideas in terms that make sense to them. You can look for opportunities to create analogies. Hey, you just mentioned this, this, and this. Well, what I'm talking about actually works in a really similar way to that. Ah, you keep using these three words. In my field, we have similar concepts, but they're just a little different. They're like this. Get in the habit of being a detective about how your listeners currently think. Then translate your ideas into language that will make sense to them. Okay, so translating your ideas into their language is a great strategy for starting out, but what about when you have to present an idea that's going to be a little challenging or counterintuitive for your audience? How can you do this in a way that doesn't trigger that backfire effect? When it comes to introducing ideas that might ruffle some mental feathers, the key is to lead with curiosity rather than conviction. Instead of coming out swinging with your contrarian viewpoint, start by acknowledging the conventional wisdom on the topic. Show that you really understand where the prevailing beliefs come from and why they might make a lot of sense to people. Then gently introduce the question or observation that got you thinking differently. Frame this not as a statement of fact, but as an intriguing puzzle that needs to be explored. Invite your audience to join you on a journey of discovery, following these intellectual breadcrumbs to see where they might lead to. By presenting your contrarian perspective as the outcome of a genuine quest for truth rather than as an argument to be won, you're going to lower your audience's defensive reactions. You're going to spark their curiosity and enlist them as collaborators on this quest for understanding. And that is what opens the door for getting them to consider new ideas that they might have just rejected otherwise. Okay, so we have two great strategies. We have translating our ideas into our listeners' language and leading with curiosity rather than certainty. But how can we express our enthusiasm for the topic in a way that doesn't come across as overzealous? The key lies in not just focusing on expressing what we know, but on expressing a sense of wonder and fascination that comes with learning new things. Passion is most compelling when it's rooted not in certainty, but in a sense of fascination. You will be most effective at drawing people in when you communicate not just your expertise, but your endless delight with uncovering new layers of your topic. Think about the last time you had a conversation with someone who was bursting to share some exciting new insight or discovery from their field. Chances are their enthusiasm was contagious. You found yourself leaning in, eager to hear more, captivated by their sense of discovery and possibility. As an expert, you can channel that same energy when you're sharing your ideas. Instead of just leading with your conclusions, invite people to marvel at the journey of getting there. Highlight the aspects that still intrigue you, the ideas that still really get your gears going, the places where you see potential for new breakthroughs on the horizon. When you let your passion take the form of shared exploration rather than definitive pronouncements, it becomes an invitation rather than an imposition. It makes people feel like they're your partners on this intellectual adventure. And that is a powerful catalyst for engagement and buy in. The $1 million communication mistake may be common, but it's far from inevitable. By understanding the psychological principles at play and employing strategies like jargon translation, curiosity hooks, and passion reframing, we can ensure our hard won expertise shines through in a way that truly resonates.